For August 24, 2026, the Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian opened the session at exactly 10 a.m. with 17 senators present, constituting a quorum for the 17th day of the impeachment trial. The presiding officer confirmed the receipt of a letter informing that the examination that Mr. Ortonio would take was moved to September, so based on the issued subpoena ad testificandum to him, he is required to attend tomorrow instead. The presiding officer confirmed also the receipt of a letter from Mr. Fajarda's counsel asking to be excused since he suffered a stroke and needs 2 weeks to recuperate. Therefore, the presentation of Mr. Fajarda was requested to be done by the House Prosecution Panel on September 7, 2026 tentatively. The presiding officer also ordered that the Senate's medical doctor examine Mr. Fajarda and verify the medical certificate presented and give a report on the findings to the court and the parties. The presiding officer also granted the request for issuance of subpoena ad testificandum for AFP officials, namely Lieutenant Colonel Manaros Boransing II, Lieutenant Colonel Magtanggol Panopio, and Major General Adonis Bajao for August 26, 2026. The presiding officer also noted the agreement to stipulate by lead defense counsel Attorney Sison on items 1 and 2 only out of the 11 requested by the House Prosecution Panel to be stipulated on. The presiding officer deferred hearing Attorney Ligutan regarding the manifestation of lead counsel Attorney Sison last week and his ruling on the matter due to the lack of material time. For the presentation of the evidence-in-chief for Article 1, the counsel for the House Prosecution Panel's Attorney Amado Ligutan conducted the continuation of his direct examination of Ms. Gina Acosta, former SDO of the OVP. The cross-examination was conducted by Attorney Lyndon Miguel Baquel. Redirect and recross-examination were conducted by the same counsels. Senator judges rigorously interpellated the witness. For the guidance of the media, the court's inquiries and manifestations were concentrated on 3 evidentiary themes. Theme number 1, accountability, documentation, and due diligence in the disbursement and liquidation of confidential funds. Senator Judge Kiko Pangilinan questioned when the government funds were considered disbursed, whether upon transfer to Colonel Lachica or only upon his subsequent payments to informants or purchases, and whether the witness had personal knowledge of those actual transactions. He also examined the documentation and practice surrounding medicines purchased as rewards for informants and whether such practice was customary. Senator Judge Erwin Tulfo questioned why the witness, despite knowing that Colonel Lachica was not a bonded person and that she herself would remain accountable for the funds, did not require additional liquidation documents. He also examined purchase of tables and chairs charged to confidential funds and the witness's knowledge of the prohibition against purchasing furniture using such funds under the joint circular. Senator Judge Risa Ontiveros focused on the accuracy of the acknowledgement receipts, asking whether the witness verified the information contained in them and whether she understood that she would be accountable for inaccuracies despite not having the actual decisions concerning utilization of the funds. Senator Judge Ping Lacson asked who bore fiduciary responsibility for the public funds, whether cash remained in the vault after encashment or was immediately released to Colonel Lachica, and whether purchases were supported by the required sales invoices or official receipts. He also questioned whether the witness's signature on the PFP was merely ministerial. Senator Judge Bam Aquino examined what the witness did after receiving the ARs and supporting documents, particularly when she encountered suspicious or apparently fictitious names, and why she did not demand the corresponding real identities or initiate an internal investigation. Senator Judge Miguel Zubiri questioned whether the witness could determine if Colonel Lachica had misused the funds and examined the possibility that ARs could reflect receipt of the full amount even though the person actually holding the money received less. He also asked whether purchases of gasoline, food, and medicines were supported by official receipts. Senator Judge J.V. Ejercito questioned why, as SDO, the witness did not ask Colonel Lachica for further details regarding the use of the funds and whether she never directly asked him how the money was actually utilized. Theme number 2, the SDO's reliance on Colonel La Chica, aliases, and the actual flow of funds. Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian asked what steps the witness took to ensure the money released to Colonel La Chica actually reached the alleged informants rather than being pocketed by him. He questioned why she trusted Colonel La Chica, why she did not report concerns regarding the utilization of the funds to the respondent, and why she did not demand the documentary evidence of payments or debts, official receipts, and acknowledgement receipts necessary to substantiate the transactions. Senator Judge Risa Ontiveros asked whether every release to Colonel La Chica was reported to the respondent and whether, based on the witness's understanding, the respondent was the person who instructed Colonel La Chica on how the funds should be utilized. Senator Judge Amy Marcos asked who provided the liquidations and the ARs to the witness, whether she had observed anything irregular, questionable, or suspicious in the documents, and whether the respondent knew about such irregularities. She also asked whether the respondent ever physically held the money after encashment. Senator Judge Lito Lapid asked what happened to the aliases referring to real persons and why the witness continued to believe Colonel La Chica's representations, including whether he had his own intelligence fund. Senator Judge Tito Soto examined whether the SDO's functions could be delegated, and if so, to whom the witness delegated the actual disbursement of funds across the 132 areas covered within only 11 days. Presiding Officer Chis Escudero pursued the actual movement of the money, asking what the witness meant when she said Colonel La Chica implemented the distribution to different persons in different areas within a single day. Whether Colonel La Chica personally distributed the money or delegated the task to others, and whether such transfer constituted a disbursement. He also asked whether Colonel La Chica ever personally received the money for himself or merely passed it on to others. As to theme number 3, the irregularities, COA findings, and accountability for the confidential funds. Presiding Officer Escudero directly confronted the discrepancy between the witness's claim that the funds tallied and the COA's finding that they did not. He asked where the money corresponding to the over-liquidation discrepancy came from, where ASEC or Tonyo could have obtained the additional funds, and whether the witness's bond covered the entire 125 million which she was accountable for. Senator Judge Rafi Tulfo questioned the degree of diligence and discretion expected of an SDO in requiring Colonel La Chica's liquidation reports. He also compared the absence of a notice of disallowance during the witness's prior experience in Davao with the notice of disallowance issued in the present circumstances. He further tested the witness's credibility by asking whether she would continue believing Colonel La Chica's representations about payments to informants despite observing him possessing expensive personal items and vehicles hypothetically. Senator Judge Erwin Tulfo examined the witness's qualifications and prior work experience, her knowledge of the respondent, her familiarity with the alleged fictitious names, the purpose of the safe or vault, and her awareness that Colonel La Chica was not bonded. He also questioned her understanding of the Joint Circular's restrictions on confidentiality fund expenditures. Senator Judge Kiko Pangilinan examined whether the nature of public funds changes once they are disbursed, the specific amounts allegedly spent on medicines for lakbay-aral and tree planting activities, and whether the purported use of medicines as rewards for informants was a normal practice based on the witness's prior experience as a disbursing officer in Davao. He also asked who could independently confirm that the money had actually been turned over to Colonel La Chica and whether similar practices existed when she served in Davao. Senator Judge Joel Villanueva examined the witness's understanding of the SDO's duties and the criteria she would apply if she were the appointing authority selecting an SDO, including which decisions she was personally expected to make. Following rulings by the presiding officer Escudero on various evidentiary motions and objections by both parties, the trial was adjourned. And pursuant to the rules of procedure on impeachment trials, the impeachment court will resume session on Tuesday, August 25, 2026 at 10 a.m. The agenda is a continuation of the presentation of the House Prosecution Panel's case-in-chief for Article 1 through the presentation of the witness, Mr. Lemuel G. Ortonio, the Chief of Staff of the OVP. Any questions?
Attorney, napansin ko po kasi kanina na parang we have senator judges na may konting background in regards to the movement of confidential funds. Could they use this personal knowledge in their decision sa ruling, or is the ruling strictly based on yung testimonies ng witnesses?
You're right, no? Yung nakalagay sa ating rules of court, rules on evidence natin, the senator judges or any judge must also consider the experience of common human people, no, with reasonable intelligence. So, kasama yon sa kanilang pagde-decide kapag nakita na nila yung buong picture ng mga ebidensya at saka yung mga testimonya ng testigo. So, they will factor that in their decision.
So, does this mean, attorney, na yung occasional or seemingly non-answer ng ating witness does weaken yung kanyang testimony?
Isa pong technique at strategy ng mga abogado yan na itetest po yung credibility ng testimonya ng witness by comparing it with common human experience. So, isa po yung impeachment strategy. At kung ano po yung maisasagot ng isang testigo, yun po yung pagbabasehan ng ating senator judges kung satisfied ba siya na credible yung testimonya ng testigo na yon o hindi po.
And then also, attorney, there's already discourse na yung testimony ni Miss Gina Acosta seems scripted because yun nga, like also pointed out in the court, na paulit-ulit yung sagot niya. What or how does the impeachment court approach this?
Meron kaming tinatawag sa korte, no, na applicable din naman dito dahil Supreme Court decisions are part of the law of the land, na minor inconsistencies in the testimony actually strengthen the credibility of the testimony. So, ibig sabihin nun, kung ang minor consistency ay nagpapalakas ng credibility ng testimonya at ng credibility ng testigo, then kapag sobrang plakado, ito will go against the credibility of the testimony. I am saying it in a general sense, not only applicable in this case or this particular witness.
Attorney, parang nabanggit po kasi kanina na may natanong yung si Gina Acosta, nagtanong dun sa defense attorney kung paano yung procedures, parang 2 weeks ago daw. Pwede bang makipag-usap yung isang witness sa either parties?
Yes. Usual po sa court proceedings at saka sa strategy ng mga abogado that if you are the witness, if you are the counsel or party presenting a witness, na i-rehearse mo muna yon. Magkakaroon kayo ng mock na direct or mock na cross-examination. So, parte yun ng isang strategiya. Now, whether this witness was rehearsed or not, I'm not making any conclusion as to that matter. Pero isa po yun sa pwede ring i-test ng ating mga counsels, pati po ng mga senator judges in terms of impeaching the credibility of the testimony of the witness. Kapag masyado pong rehearse, pwede ring makita yan na nakakasama, no? Pero hindi naman pwedeng hindi rehearse. Kasi as a counsel, syempre gusto mo kung ano yung mga ikukwento ng testigo, yun talaga ay mailabas sa magandang paraan para maintindihan ng mga hukom.
And dahil parang, di ba, hostile witness nga po tong si Gina, so sa defense siya nakikipag-usap.
Tama. So ang isa pong hostile witness, no, pag nadeklara ang isang testigo na hostile witness, yung counsel na nagpresenta ng hostile witness na yon, pwede siyang tanungin ng leading questions, katulad na narinig nyo kanina, at pwede rin siyang i-impeach. So ayon po yan sa Section 13 at Section 10 ng Rule 132 ng Rules on Evidence.
So, attorney, kumbaga, okay lang na may makipag-usap na testigo kung if they're affiliated or hostile witness sila ng isang party, okay lang nandun sila, nagpapa-counsel sila sa kabila. That's okay.
walang mali doon because of the fact that she was qualified and it was actually stipulated on by both parties na siya ay isang empleyado ng respondent at matagal na siyang empleyado doon. At sinabi niya rin na nag-provide ang Vice Presidente ng counsel para sa kanya regarding do sa mga cases na kinakaharap niya. So, yung kung sinong counsel yon hindi natin alam. So, ngayon dahil siya ay hostile at yung adverse yung kanyang interest at mas inline yung interest niya doon sa interest ng respondent, then we can conclude no na maaaring siya rin ay nabigyan ng instructions ng ating defense counsel or ng respondents counsel. So ito ay natural lamang no na poprotektahan mo syempre yung kliyente mo no, yung kaso mo. So kung yung respondents counsel was able to rehearse if ever no of course we're not saying that she was rehearsed, it would not be a surprise to anyone, shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, because any lawyer worth his salt would have done the same thing.
And attorney, does this apply to every witness out there na nakapila? Just in case lang naman, pero wala pa kunwari, hindi pa sila declared na hostile witness ng either of the party, pwede po sila magpa-counsel sa either of the party? Or dapat po nakalatag?
Walang strict rule regarding that matter, no. It is of course, as I said, kung sino nagrepresenta ng witness na yon, then i-rehearse niya yung witness na yon. No, kung mga before, like kunwari sila NBI Director Matibag, 'di ba? Parang yung ating House Prosecution Panel ang nagpresenta sa kanila. So syempre nakapag-usap na silang dalawa, kaya inamin naman ni Director Matibag na meron silang pag-usap with the House Prosecution Panel because of the coordination and also the topics to be discussed or the questions to be asked. But not, of course, pag sinabing rehearsal, yung tanong lang at saka yung tanong lang yung nire-rehearse para makapaghanda yung isang testigo. Hindi yung, the lawyers cannot supply the answer for the witnesses because that will be considered as witness tampering naman, no? So, kailangan yung para lang mabihasa yung isang testigo sa katanungan at ma-reform lang yung mga sagot niya kung sakasakaling medyo hindi malinaw yung pagkasagot.
Attorney, does that include yung pagsagot lang ng opo, hindi po? And pag kunwari may cross-exam, parang puro yes or no questions lang yung binabato?
Cross-examination po, dahil leading questions, usually answerable only by yes or no. And usually kapag ang testigo ay sumobra sa pagsagot na yun na yes or no, makikita ninyo, nagpapamove to strike yung isang counsel para sasabihin niya unresponsive to the question.
Attorney, question lang din po, dito sa MedCert at communication po ng camp ni Edward Fajarda, ngayon lang po ba talaga napagbigay alam na may ganitong condition po siya? O kasi po yung timeliness lang, kumbaga nang may ganito bigla ang letter, well, we're yet to know kung ano talaga yung nangyari po sa kanya. Ngayon na po ba? O nung pinasabi na, parang may info na po na ganito yung mangyayari?
I haven't seen the medical certificate yet, no? And I haven't seen kung kailan yung actual na confinement niya. So I have to get back to you on that. Pero as to the information, today lang naman pina-receive yung copy na yun ng letter na yun mula sa counsel ni Mr. Fajarda attaching such medical certificate. So normal naman sa aming mga abogado na meron talaga mga instances na ganyan. And kaya pinapa-examine din ng ating presiding officer yung veracity ng information na nakalagay dun sa liham na yun, kung totoo yun o hindi, para makita yung actual na situation or physical ni Mr. Fajarda, if he is really unfit to testify for this week, para lang to confirm.
And attorney, should he really be unfit for the entire trial? Bahala na po yun. Ang bola nasa prosecution na kung ano yung sunod na gagawin.
Tama.
Yung 5 days notice para dun sa susunod na witnesses.
Ang 5-day rule, kung maalala ninyo, was ruled by the presiding officer in the pre-trial order na ang bibigyan dapat ng 5 days notice yung each party para doon sa mga unlisted na mga testigo. Kapag nakalista yung testigo na yon, only 3 days ang kinakailangan na palugit para bigyan mo ng advance information na ipepresenta mo. So, technically, dapat dahil nakalista naman si Mr. Fajarda ever since sa pre-trial order tsaka sa pre-trial brief ng House Prosecution Panel, it shouldn't be 5 days but 3 days.
Pero sir, yung dun sa susunod na witnesses, kasi parang sabi nila hindi daw sila masyado makapaghanda, yung sa tatlong AFP officials.
Sa AFP officials also, nakalista po yon sa pre-trial order. So, ang mag-a-apply po ay yung 3-day notice.
Wednesday.
Parang sinabi ni presiding officer na baka mauna lang yung direct examination ng isa sa mga AFP officials na yon sa Wednesday at baka hindi naman matapos yung cross-examination. So the respondents' counsel would be given the chance naman enough time to prepare for their cross-examination kung sakaling Monday mangyari yung cross-examination at Wednesday mangyari yung direct examination ng unang testigo na AFP official na si Mr. Boransing II.
Attorney, 3 days. So, kung kunwari po sa case po na yung AFP, kung 3 days, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, yun po ang bilang reading notice.
Ano po?
Kung sa case po ng AFP, yung tatlo, first, yung sa impeachment trial days po ba?
Dapat 3 days before, ibig sabihin nun. So, kunwari, Wednesday ang hearing, dapat na sabihan mo siya ng Sunday. Ng mga Sunday. Kasi you don't count the day na kung kailan mo ipinaalam eh. So, I mean, those are preferred dates naman, but the court will be liberal in implementing the number of days so long as wala namang undue prejudice to each party. Kaya kanina sinabi ni presiding officer, wala namang ganong prejudice sa inyo kasi baka hindi namang matapos yung direct examination nung first AFP official na si Mr. Boransing II sa Wednesday, then you still have enough time. Yun lang naman ay para makapaghanda ka doon sa cross-examination mo.
Attorney, para lang makapaghanda din kami, bago na yung schedule, trial schedule next week.
Hindi ko pa po mako-confirm yan, no, kung mauurong na ba tayo ng hapon o hindi, no. So, pero hintayin po natin, bibigyan naman tayo ng advance notice ni presiding officer. So, if not tomorrow, baka Wednesday po.
And that's for the
Kasi
trial
iniisip po
schedule next
nila,
week.
yes po, and moving forward po. Kasi iniisip po nila na parang let's have a clean cut, no, na tapusin na yung Agosto bago pa mag-iba yung mga schedule. And for advance notice to the witnesses and the parties.